All right, the tools section. Under the tools, you have a wide variety of things you can do, and I'm going to kind of highlight some that are important for most teachers. So first, spelling and grammar. You can do spelling and grammar checks that have spelling suggestions and grammar suggestions. So for example, it noticed that I probably spelled classroom wrong there. I can right click it and it'll tell me, do you think you meant classroom? There's feedback on suggestion. Maybe I can tell it like, hey, the suggestion's wrong or the suggestion's unclear. I can ignore it. I can always correct to classroom, meaning anytime I do that, the AI will automatically correct it to classroom. Or if this is something that's a real thing, I could actually add it to my dictionary and then it won't hit that anymore. So I'm actually going to correct. Going back up to tools, if I hover over spelling and grammar check, one can do is create a personal dictionary. I've added the word Fostoria because it would always make a tag make a that was misspelled. So that's one of my words, and then swore check so that I don't have to do that. And so if I type in some words, they no longer show up as spelling and grammar suggestions. Word count, they have made a couple changes to this word count. If you click word count, you can see it. However, they do now offer the ability for you to see it while you're typing. So if you're looking at the word count while you're typing, there's your word count. And as you type, it goes up and gives you all that information that can be very helpful for students. Review suggested edits. If there's a suggestion in suggestion mode, so let's say there's a suggestion in suggestion mode, you can review the suggested edits and accept them or reject them. You can also do that here, accept or reject. Next, compare documents. This is a fairly new feature. You pick out a document to compare it to. I don't have a great physical example of a one-to-one difference, but let's say for the sake of argument that if I pick out a doc, let's take this outside work, and I compare it and attribute differences that Matthew Swarchek has made. What it does is it creates a comparison and opens that up in a new window and walks you through any changes in that document that have been attributed to me and kind of creates some explanations of here's where there's differences. Now this doesn't look very clean because it's two completely different documents. So I kind of tried to look up an example of something that you would know. This was a June change here, but essentially the why you would use it. As it says here, the feature makes it easy to see changes between two docs over time. For instance, educators can use this tool to compare essays and track revisions when grading. Business users could use the tool during contract negotiations to see what terms have changed. Basically meaning what you're supposed to do here is if you have one version of Google Docs how-to and a second version, you could compare the two and see what the changes are in one spot. So I linked that see use Google compare right there for your use in the future if you need it. The Explore tab is duplicated down here. Now this is like an AI assistant that sits at the bottom of any Google Doc, and a student or you as a teacher could use it. You could pull in images. You can search topics. You can search. So for example, let's say you need information on Google Classroom. It'll do a web search of which you could open that link if you need right out of your doc. You can find images and insert them, or it'll search your drive for that word and let you pull in different graphics directly in here. It's meant to save you time so that you don't have to go to a different page, navigate between two different pages. You can actually do any web searching, image searching, or drive searching right here from the Explore tab. Next, dictionary. You can use this to be a dictionary. So if you hover over and you need the dictionary to look up a word, it'll look up that word for the student or you. Next, one other thing I want to show you. So let's say you type in the word share. One other thing that it does do, which is nice, is it'll give you all its background on the nouns and verbs and usages, but it also shows you synonyms. So if you're trying to have students kind of expand their vocabulary, synonyms do show up in the document. So I'm going to turn the dictionary off here, go back to tools, translate the document. You can pick a translation through the Google Docs interface, and it will try and translate the document to that particular copy. What's cool about this is it makes a copy of that document. So if you need to send a copy of a letter and you want to translate it ahead of time, this basically translates it, and now you have two copies. Tools, and that copy would live in your drive wherever it is that you decided to have it. So there's the translated copy of your Google Docs how-to that you could send out to students or parents. Other tools at your disposal, voice typing. So if you decide, back in suggesting mode, let me fix that real quick. All right, so voice typing. If you turn this on, and all of a sudden it will ask you to do your microphone. Once you do that, you can then voice type directly into your document. The good thing is it is AI, so it will try to learn and try to fix any problems you might have. So if you say, put ketchup on my sandwich and I need to catch up to her, it knows the difference. So turn that off. Script editor. This is a script inside baseball, but you can actually write code within your document if that's something you really want and you want to change script. Preferences. These are preferences within your tools. Automatic substitutions. I am terrible about spelling the word committees, so it knows that if I misspell it to correct it. There are some words like tailored. I sometimes transpose the ALIO, and so therefore I told it to do that. I have it set to do all of these suggestions in automatics, but you can do whatever you would like. Accessibility settings are duplicated here and here. So if you hit the accessibility settings, mine has screen reader support. Turn on Collaborator Announcements. I know when people enter and exit my files. What that means is up here, if someone joins the file, a student, a collaborator, another teacher's looking at it, you'll see who's looking at it. And that's controlled up here through the accessibility settings. You can turn on screen magnifier support if that's something you need. And last but not least is the activity dashboard. These are the people that have power the view share privileges. This is the viewer trend, who's looked at it, commenting trend, sharing history, who's shared it, when they shared it, and then the privacy settings. That's kind of a cool thing to look at if you're putting a document together that you want to see the traffic on. So for example, if I want to look at a training site or a training offering sheet where I've put it out there for people to look at, I can see kind of like when the traffic has been heaviest. So that is the tools section of Google Docs.